Good morning, Devils fans, to yet another win as we continue trudging along here in the preseason. The only team in the NHL that is still undefeated. Last night, we played the Rangers, both us and them, fielding basically full NHL lineups. Albeit, I'll give the Rangers a slight caveat that their best player was not in the lineup, as Alexei Lafreniere was watching from the press box. No, but seriously, Shesterkin wasn't a net. Quick is god awful, as we've seen, and I think it is pretty much guaranteed we will never see Quick again. Shesterkin will definitely take the lion's share of the starts, but he will absolutely play in every game against us. So I'm not putting too much stock in, just being able to light up a guy who really probably shouldn't be an NHL goalie anymore. So gonna go ahead and dive into overall reactions here to the games. We played pretty well. I'd say we mostly dominated possession, at least especially in the first period. Capitalized on our power play. We basically played kind of a Rangers style in that sense, where most of our production came from the power play. But it's not like we got caved 5v5. It just really seems like once we took the lead there in the first, kind of coasted for the rest of the game, and we're able to just win it off of that. Zibanejad, Panarin, Kako were invisible the entire game outside of a single shift. And then Wheeler, I completely forgot he was even on the roster. I don't think his name was mentioned basically even a single time. Kreider was invisible. Obviously, like I said, Laugh wasn't playing. And then Fox, once again, gets beat up the ice by Nico, draws another penalty. Same exact thing happened in the playoffs. Nico beat Fox. Nico draws a penalty off of Fox. I understand why he's considered the second best defenseman in the game, but when you watch, the gulf between him and Makar is substantial. And I'm gonna be honest, how last year ended for the Rangers and how preseason's gone for them so far. I'm not sure Fox is going to be considered the second best defenseman by year's end. I don't even think that's that hot of a take. I know foot speed is like his one drawback, and it's basically every other part of his game that's elite. But with the way the NHL is going, and especially if you're going to be meeting us probably in the playoffs, at least for the next couple of years while they're still making the playoffs, they don't stand a chance if that's your biggest issue. When Jack, Nico, Brat, Timo, basically our entire team is going to be able to blow past your best guy. So to focus a bit more on our dudes, obviously Jack and Brat are truly elite. I don't know if you saw Toffoli's face after Jack's power play goal, but the dude was just as stunned, I think, as some of us were. Where, I mean, the kid just sniped top cheddar, and Jack looks really good. Brat continues to just be on an absolute tear. I think both of them are at a 2+ point per game pace here in the preseason. Still preseason. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much here. But, I mean, this was really probably the first true full NHL lineup we've played against, and we looked really good. They didn't have their best player, really, in Shesterkin. Arguably at least a top two goalie in the league, in my opinion. And we probably do not score five if that was the case with him in net. But the Rangers' goals were basically both fluky, where ours were all very, very beautiful chances. I mean, you could say the flukiest of them was the Mercer power play goal. And even that, I mean, that was a drive to the net, and the Rangers are the ones that basically took out their own goalie and net with Mercer potting it in. So, I mean, that's still just a good play, even if it looks a bit more scrambly because of how it played out after the puck went in. If I wanted to, not if I really want to, I do want to nitpick a few things. First, I'm going to focus on Lindy's quotes about our Nico Timo Holtz line. He said, while they dominated possession, they didn't dominate chances. Really would have liked to see more offensive generated out of them, and I agree. I think Holtz, on the whole, actually had a pretty good game. People are pointing to that drop pass as like a big fluke by him. Not really. I thought he did really well there, and it was just Nico and Timo kind of split themselves. Both went for the puck, and then when they both saw each other going for it, both of them backed off, and so it made the play look a little bit worse. It was a smart play. I mean, he dropped it to empty ice where he had two guys that one of them picks it up, the other guy should be open for another pass and a good chance. Just it didn't quite work out that way. The line is newly formed. They're still trying to find that synergy. And I know people point to, yeah, they just don't look as dominant as the Brat, Jack, Toffoli line, which I'm going to be honest, most of that domination is coming purely from Jack and Brat, with Toffoli looking good. He's definitely looking real good with them, and I definitely like what is growing between the three. But it's definitely Jack and Brat doing the lion's share of the work there, and those two have now played together for quite a bit of time. Nico and Timo have really not played that much together, even in the grand scheme, at least within our system. I know they played internationally together a bit, and then you're throwing Holtz in there as well. So those three are definitely still trying to work out exactly what they got going on. And I'm down to give them some runway into the regular season to do so. We'll see what Lindy does. I said it before. Last preseason, we saw Palat, Jack, Holtz, and then never saw it again, even after playing all the preseason together. So we'll see exactly what happens here in this last preseason game, and then who knows come regular season. But I'm thinking with how good the Jack, Brat, Toffoli line is looking, they're not going to want to really touch that. And with how good Palat, Halla, Mercer is looking, they probably don't really want to touch that. So should really give Holtz some runway. Lindy also did have compliments for Holtz's game, so it's not like it was all bad. I think it was actually one of his better preseason games on the whole, even though he didn't score in it. It's not all about the score sheet; it's about the whole aggregate gameplay. And yeah, so pretty good. I know the power play units. I mean, personally, I don't agree with it. They lit it up, right? Hard to argue with how much they lit it up in this game, but still. I think it could have been, looked even better when you load up that top unit. I think Palat actually flubbed a few plays on that top power play. And if you had someone like Timo in that spot instead, probably looks even better. So, gonna keep an eye on that. I think they're gonna stick with it for a good stretch. And it's the regular season. I feel very comfortable in our playoff position. So, I'm not really worried about maybe bleeding a point here or there in the grand scheme of it, just to give this a try for a stretch. And we'll see how that continues to play out as we get further along into the season. Now over to the defense. I mean, Siegs and Dougie definitely ramped it up. I had a lot of criticism for them in their last game. I thought they played very well in this one. Marino continues to just be an absolute menace this preseason. Hopefully that continues on into the regular season. Ball, what a great hit there. I mean, that kind of garnered the reaction out of the Rangers with Trouba doing the numbers hit onto Foley. Should have been called a penalty. Maybe deserves a hearing. I would have to look at it a bit more, but at least that should have been a boarding penalty. I really don't think it was so crazy that they would they would suspend Trouba for it. It's just NHL is not going to do that. But give us the penalty. It was a clear numbers into the boards hit. You can't do that. Ball's hit was clean. They got upset that we spanked them in playoffs and then came in here and blew up one of their guys, so they retaliated, and it was illegal. Toffoli got back up from it, shook it off. He's a strong guy. I mean, Trouba's probably super pissed. I saw him try to line up a couple other ones, and I mean, the guy is just slow. Dance around. I think he was on the ice for almost every goal against as well. So, yeah, cool. You get some big hits, dude, but you get absolutely dominated on the ice. So, yeah, more power to you, I guess. Now on to that third pair. This is really where I think we have a lot of area to grow and figure out exactly what we want to do. Nemec, I definitely based off of Lindy's comments, there's no shot he is going to start, in my opinion. It really, I think, is Miller and Luke at this point. I really think it's going to end up being Siegs, Dougie now, Ball Marino, and then Luke Miller as the third pairing, and really just let those two grow with each other, grow into the system, and kind of figure it out as we move along with advantageous starting positions for them. Because, again, defensively, Luke Smith had some holes, had some lapses that I think led to at least one of the goals against. Offensively, Luke is still just dynamo, so no issues there at all. And so, yeah, really, I think it's that bottom pairing. We're gonna have to live with some mistakes as we get into the year, and just see how these guys grow and work with each other. But not too much other to complain about. Our fourth line there with Lazar, Mikey, Nosek actually looked a lot better this game. Lazar continues to impress me, especially on the penalty kill. He did take a couple of penalties, so if that's going to be a trend for him, he's going to have to sit for somebody else. You just really can't afford to take those penalties with your fourth line guys. You're there in limited minutes. You can't be in the box, especially when you're one of our penalty killers. So if he stays out of the box, I'm really liking Lazar's play. Mikey wasn't as dominant, but we know he has it in him, and still preseason, so I'm not too focused in on that stuff really. And Vitek, I thought actually had a really good game. Again, fluky goals. I don't think it was anything too crazy. So on the whole, pretty good. I think they coasted again after getting the lead, but we saw them when they fall behind, like in the Islanders game, where they can come back when they really put their foot on the pedal. So one more preseason game against the Islanders. I'm not expecting too much. It's the last one. Really just work on some of the small detail stuff, hopefully, and really just cannot wait for this regular season to get started. I still expect Nemec to get into this game, and we'll see how much more they play with that bottom pairing, or if they're just like, Nemec is not starting, and we really need to figure out what the starting bottom pair is, and they give Luke another look with another combo. We'll see. I think we are looking pretty locked in on what our lines are going to play out to be. So, yeah, again, it's preseason. I don't need to go too in depth on these things. Just wanted to, shout out the boys for again continuing to dominate this year, and how laughable the Rangers look in just their top guys ghosting again versus us. It's not a good look for them, guys. And so, I mean, you can call it a rivalry, but is it a rivalry if we're always winning now? So, Rangers fans, if you end up finding this video, let me know where you think the edges are going to be gained. Do you think Shesterkin steps in and that's just the difference maker? Because I could see it. He's not quick, right? It would be a much closer game in those stands. The score, actually, I think, by the end, I think we dominated the first, and then the score by the end actually made that feel like a much more dominant win than it really was. But neither team in the second and third really looked all that great or dangerous outside of our power plays, obviously. So, yeah, it was a good one. We should get another round of cuts. I think should be a couple more guys out, but really we're, with injuries and all of that, I think pretty close to our full starting roster being known. So we're getting there. Cannot wait. I'm going to call it on this video for today, guys. So I'll see you tomorrow morning, as always, and forever, baby. Let's go Devils.